880 ESPN.
WHSQ and WCBS FM HD2, New York.
Michael K. is on the radio today, and he ain't afraid to say what he's thinking. It's the Michael K. Show on 880 ESPN Radio.
And a good afternoon, everybody. This is indeed the Michael K. Show. We thank you for joining us on a beautiful Monday. It's November 17th. It is 2025. Me and you for two. Those are the rules of engagement. The fastest 2 hours in sports talk radio starts right here at 1 o'clock every Monday through Friday. We go to 3, leading you right onto Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. Hope you had a good weekend, everybody. Giants with a loss yesterday. And I'll tell you what, it gets hard to sit here and criticize because I don't think they played that poorly. But once again, they blow a fourth quarter lead. The fourth time this year they've done that. And they lose 27-20 to the Packers in a game they could have won. A game they couldn't won, but their defense can't stop anything in the fourth quarter. Mike Kafka, in his coaching debut, I thought the team looked good. He did some daring things. They looked like they were well-connected, and they played hard. You know, I don't think there's a managerial bump in the NFL like there is in baseball. I mean, you got to go out there, and it's physical. I don't think that changing coaches actually makes you play better. I don't think they played that poorly, for the most part, for Brian Daboll. They're not a great team. I mean, their secondary got shredded again when it counted the most, and that's all there is to it. So we can add one more name to the bust list of Joe Schoen. We know that Evan Neal's on that list. He was put on the injured list again yesterday, so that's pretty much the end of his Giant career. And then you have Deonte Banks, who was the 24th pick in 2023, and he got shredded in the secondary as well. He's been a bust. So those are 2 first-round draft picks. One a high first-round draft pick, one a low first-round draft pick that were absolutely bust by Joe Schoen. Absolute bust. But he has his job, and Brian Daboll is walking around in the snow in a Nittany Lion sweatshirt. So make it all make sense for me. I'm not quite sure what's going on. There is something that talks about the culture of what's being built or has been built at MetLife Stadium. So Abdul Carter was benched for the first series, defensive series, for the Giants yesterday. They wouldn't say why he was benched, but it was an indiscretion that got to them and got to Kafka. So he benched him, and then he put him back in the game. Now, you say, well, why do they do that? Well, they do that because, why should you penalize the whole team? And with Thibodeau out, they needed Abdul Carter to play. Well, The Athletic reported about an hour ago that he slept through a walkthrough at the facility. He was at the facility and slept through a walkthrough, which begs the question. There's people throughout the facility, right? Throughout the facility. Nobody thought to wake this guy up. Hey, they're having a walkthrough. Get out there. Nobody did that. But here's where it gets funny. So Abdul Carter saw the tweet from The Athletic and then tweeted back, I wasn't sleeping. I was in recovery, but this is on me. Now, listen, I'm no doctor, nor do I play one on the radio. But if you're doing recovery work, you would think that you're doing recovery work with somebody on the medical staff. Again, I'm not speaking with any knowledge or certitude on this, but recovery work would seem like it's done with somebody not alone. So the fact that he wasn't sleeping and was actually in the middle of recovery, that screams out the person that was doing recovery with him. Why didn't they say, hey, trying to get out there, they're doing a walkthrough? That never happened. So when you see a team struggling, when you see an organization struggling, for as long as the Giants have been struggling, there's something in the water. There's something that just doesn't smell right. So Abdul Carter, I'm not going to put him on the list of abject failures by Joe Shane. Guy has a half sack this year. Now, he hasn't played a lot because they have too many people at that position, so they rotate him in and out. But he played a lot yesterday after missing the first defensive series. A half a sack. This guy was considered can't miss. This guy was going to be the next Lawrence Taylor. He wanted Lawrence Taylor's number. He wanted Phil Simms' number. Seems like everybody has his number. Again, this is what happens in losing situations. You don't build players up. They don't get better. They sleep through walkthroughs or they recovery through walkthroughs. It's just awful. But again, a game that the Giants had the opportunity to win. I thought Jameis Winston played as well as you could expect him to play. 19 of 29, 201 yards. And the game ended essentially on a pick in the left corner of the end zone as the Giants were trying to get a touchdown. Now, I thought they were getting a touchdown to try to tie it. But Kafka did say if they had scored that touchdown, they were going to go for two, which would have been reminiscent of Joe Shane or Brian Dable's first win. Remember when he did that against Tennessee? He went for two and ended up winning. So that's what Kafka was ready to do rather than force it into overtime. But they never got that chance because Jalen Hyatt, who was supposed to go into the corner of the end zone, stopped short of his intended area or real estate. But Jameis Winston threw the ball where Jalen Hyatt was supposed to be, and Jalen Hyatt wasn't there. It was picked off, and that was it. So the Giants did take a 20-19 lead with 7:22 remaining, but we've all seen this movie, didn't we? And we all thought at some point they were going to give up a touchdown because that's what the Giants do. That's why the Giants are 2-9. That's why they're not 6-5 or 5-6. They can't stop anybody in the fourth quarter. 4 leads in the fourth quarter given away. And I don't think that they were passive yesterday. It's hard to blame Shane Bowen. I think they weren't passive. I think they went for it. They put pressure on the quarterback. Here's the dirty little secret that nobody wants to really address. They're not that good. They're not that talented. And nobody wants to bring that up. They're just not that talented. And they're certainly not deep. So Debo was out yesterday, had to play Banks, and Banks got burned. Flott got burned. They don't have a good secondary. The second line of talent is not good. So when people say, Joe Shane has put a lot of good young talent out there, well, where? Where? Malik Neighbors is legit. Looks like Jackson Dart is legit. Where else is this great young talent? Andrew Thomas, that's not his pick. Dave Gettleman's pick. Now, he re-signed him to a contract, but it's Dave Gettleman's pick. So where's this great talent that he's given us? Look at the defense. The Brian Burns trade, that was a great trade. I'm not going to take anything away from Joe Shane there. But you take a look overall at the Giants. If they had the great defense that everybody says that they have, they wouldn't be giving up 4 fourth-quarter leads. Where are the players in the secondary? Where are they? Was letting Xavier McKinney go a good idea? Now you can say, well, if he didn't let Xavier McKinney go, they wouldn't have been able to make the trade for Brian Burns. Hey, be better. Manage your cap better. You could still have made room for Brian Burns. But they let Xavier McKinney go, and they're still searching for his replacement. So when you let a player like that go, you know what happens? You got to pick a player like that in the draft. That's why I laugh when people go crazy over, the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons, but they got back 2 first-rounders. And with those 2 first-rounders, what are they going to want to do? Oh, yeah, they're going to want to try to get Micah Parsons. And the Jets have all these first-round draft picks, but what are they going to do? What do the Jets want to do? They want to replace the players that they traded. They want Quinnen Williams. They want Sauce Gardner. So they're just resetting the clock. Now, speaking of the Jets, news comes out today that they are making a quarterback change. It'll be Tyrod Taylor in place of Justin Fields. And listen, I don't know if Aaron Glenn had a choice. Justin Fields just wasn't good. I mean, teams have to get at least 200 yards passing out of their quarterback. If Fields got 100 yards, you feel like throwing a party. This is the only move to make, although I'm not sure that it's the absolute right move to make, if that makes sense. I know that sounds convoluted. Winning games down the stretch, not going to help the Jets. Not going to help the Jets. Let's say you really like this kid from Indiana. Tennessee has 1 win. Giants have 2. You win games, you're losing out on the chance to get a quarterback if you like that said quarterback. So do they have a better chance to win games with Taylor? Yeah. But is that the right thing to do? They play the Ravens on Sunday. Ravens just squeaked by against Cleveland. Ravens are not playing that well, so I wouldn't say that's a no-chance opportunity for the Jets. They got a chance. But we know what Tyrod Taylor is. He's 36 years old. So by making this move, what you're doing is, I want to win games, and I want to change the culture. So you're kind of weighing things. You're also owed to 52 other guys that are playing hard and trying to win. You want to give them the best chance to win. And I'm not for tanking. So please don't take this the wrong way. But if you're a bad team and you have no chance to make the playoffs, it behooves you to lose more games than to win a couple for eyewash. The thing that I didn't understand, because I was off on Friday, great job by Jake Assman doing the show, but the Jets lost on Thursday by 13 points to the Patriots, and they were just, beaten by a better team. And I don't think the Jets played that poorly. But the only chance they had was running Justin Fields. But then Aaron Glenn said, well, we don't want to put him in harm's way. What? This is what this guy does. This is what he did with the Bears. He had a 1,000-yard season. If that's your best chance to win games, then let him rush. He's not a long-term answer at quarterback. And I'm not saying you put him in the crosshair so you get him hurt. But that's his skill set. He can't throw the ball. So if a guy can't throw the ball and the only thing that he can do is run the ball, then have him run the ball. All of a sudden, you're going to put him in bubble wrap? Anyway, that's no longer a concern. Although he'll be the backup quarterback, it'll be Taylor. So the Jets did what they had to do. And now we are going to bring in always our special guest on a Monday, a little bit earlier, but we thought it'd be great to talk to him. And that is the Hall of Famer, Steve Young, who joins us now. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. The Jets finally make the quarterback change. Taylor is going to be the quarterback. Justin Fields has been benched. Do you think that this was the right move, Steve?
The Jets carousel. Just jump on it. It's a ride. Like pay your quarter and jump on, and off we go. And then what you do is you just blame the player, right? He's a terrible player, and then bring somebody else new, and then we blame the coach and terrible coach, and then we get rid of him. And then general manager, terrible guy. It's just okay. Here we go.
Now
I feel terrible for everybody. I don't know why we can't stand back and for the amazing fan base. I mean, to me, just from outside in, some of the most loyal people alive are Jets fans, and it's a disservice. And so let's talk about Justin Fields and his problems. Let's talk about Tyrod Taylor and what he does, and we'll just dance around the grave of what happens with the Jets. So, okay, whatever. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was wondering, right before you came on, I was making the analysis of what Aaron Glenn said after the Patriot game, where he said, we didn't want to run Justin Fields that much and put him in harm's way. And he was actually gaining chunks of yards every time he ran. Steve, if that's what he does well, shouldn't he do it? Shouldn't they have allowed him to do that?
And I would tell Justin, until you learn the sophisticated passing game, or at least get to a place where they can teach you sophisticated passing game, then use your skills. And that's one of his best. I mean, he's one of the best. And so I would lead into it. And absolutely. tremendous threat. And then think about it. Off of that, you can teach the sophisticated passing game comes over time. But then in the meantime, you've got to use those assets, or you get kicked off the field. So in some ways, what Coach is saying is, I'm not going to let you use the asset that can keep you on the field, so that I can kick you off the field. So I kept them safe. That was for sure.
It is kind of odd. I also said, I wonder what your take is. I know that players on the field are never tanking, and I'm not a guy who advocates for tanking at all. But doesn't it behoove the Jets to lose as many games as they can? And also, Tyrod Taylor's not the future of this team anyway. Why wouldn't you keep Justin Fields in there and let him do what he does and see if you can win any games? But, just bringing in a 36-year-old quarterback to try to win games, how does that help the future of the Jets when they have to select a quarterback?
Right now, the Jets, you're right. In that way, you serve both ends. It is tanking in football is both difficult and easy, right? It's difficult because there's too many guys and too much pride. Generally, guys that play the pro game, there's just too much pride. And so they're going to go play hard. You can tell them, the owner could walk in and go, we're tanking, and then tell them to shove it, But the other problem is that football the game is to run into people. And you have to have inspiration to do it. You have to have, that's why Knute Rockne's famous, right? Make a speech, and all right, let's go play great football. It does matter to have that inspiration, and when you don't have it, it's tough to play great football. So you don't necessarily have to talk about tanking, because if you don't have much to inspire you, it's going to be hard to play great. And then your point about Justin, why shouldn't we just continue to develop? You can see the talent. Clearly, we're not developing him as a passer, and that's, people need to look in the mirror on that one as well. Because I know from talking to Justin, he'll do the work, he studies, he's vigilant, right? He's not somebody who just throws his body out there and says, I'll just play ball, I'm not going to do the work. He does the work. So in my mind, you've got a talented kid there that now you just put him on ice, and so hopefully Tyrod Taylor doesn't win, and then we get a big draft choice, and we have another top 3 that we take a quarterback and have him roll through the Jets program again. Okay, let's get your quarter and jump on the carousel. It's great.
So let me throw this at you. I don't mean this with any disrespect toward Justin Fields, because he seems like a terrific guy, and I know that you have an affection for him, but didn't do it with the Bears, didn't do it with the Steelers, hasn't done it with the Jets. When's it on him?
It's on him, 100%. Look, I can stand back and tell you what my truth is. My truth is that Justin Fields has not gotten it done, and he has to own it, 100%. What I'm saying is that there's context to it that you and I can talk about, that Justin Fields can take the 100% of the accountability and still talk about there's other accountability out there. There's the truth that it sits on Justin's head. He's responsible for it. His play, he's responsible. But there's a truer truth that those in charge and teach and create and own have to take part of that. That's my point, is that Justin has to own his game. That's not what I'm trying to get away from. What I'm trying to do is let people know that it's not a singular thing. It's actually, especially with this situation, there's accountability that needs to be taken in other plaplaces, but never is, because then I can put a guy on the bench and everybody's got protection in a way, right? It's like he's bad, he's the problem, and we're all fine. Keep my jobs, don't fire me, and the owner can go, yeah, we got a bad quarterback. When Woody goes to dinner with somebody, he says, what's wrong with the Jets? He goes, well, yeah, we've got the wrong quarterback. And then everybody feels like everyone's fine. And then we move on. And that's what I just don't want to have happen.
Steve Young is our guest here on the Michael Kay Show. Take me inside a facility. The Giants did not play Abdul Carter in the first defensive series because of an indiscretion that happened earlier. And we find out today he either overslept, or he said in the facility while they were doing the walkthrough, and he said, no, I didn't oversleep. I was doing recovery. Isn't there somebody from the team with him if he's doing recovery, Steve?
Not always, especially if you're sleeping. So, come on, man. I mean, look, people make mistakes, and that is recovery, right? We know in the world today, everyone's trying to get more rest to avoid Alzheimer's and brain disease, and good rest. I mean, look, if he made a mistake, and it's all contextual.
Right.
What kind of guy is he? Is he somebody that's just habitual problem? Is he someone who just complains a lot and makes mistakes and doesn't respect the team, because that's what it comes down to, right? Is when you don't show up, then it just feels really disrespectful. Every player avoids that like the plague, because then you're saying to not only just the coach but to the team, like, I don't care. And when he does, and so I think if he's the kind of guy that does care and everyone knows it, then he made a mistake. Move on. And if he's trying to cover it by saying, I was recovering, then that means that he's trying to tell you, I got this. Just step back. I made a mistake. Move on, and let it be. Now, if it's somebody that's habitual serial problem, and this is another, another slice of something that's going to be a problem, then let's all get fired up about it, and let's not make sure that it becomes even bigger problem. So it seems like to me that he's a kid that made a mistake and move on.
All right, a couple of quick hits before we let you go. Is there something wrong with the Chargers? They get beaten up badly by the Jags, 35-6, and a really bad game by their quarterback. So I just can't get a grip on the Chargers, Steve.
Well, I get a grip on the Jags first. The Jags play some defense. They can be vicious, and it ebbs and flows. So you're just like, well, where's that every week? I get that. And they also have a young, innovative mind that is going to net through the change from previous regimes in Jacksonville to what we get this year. You're going to see at the end of the year, offense was significantly better. Mm-hmm. So one thing you got to know is that you go into Jacksonville, you're not running into the old Jacksonville Jaguars. You got a defense that's vicious and can play as well as anybody, and an offense that's thoughtful and more innovative, and you're going to get more out of them. So that's one thing. The other thing is just the opposite with Jim and the Chargers. They're going to play what you'd call old school football. Come in, run the football, ask the quarterback to do too much, and the defense has been battered. So it's like the Chargers can play great football, but I don't know that they're on the ascent the way the Jags are. And so I'd step back from that game rather than just looking at that game and going, I'm going to define both teams by that game, because I don't think you should. But what did we learn? We learned that the Jags are, first of all, if they're at home especially, no one's going to score 30 against them. They're a vicious group. And then what we learned about the Chargers is they're very mercurial, right? They're up and down, and they can't be counted on. But please don't. Look, I know I'm going to be like, Steve just defends all the quarterbacks. He refuses to be honest about it. Well, I told you, Justin Fields has not played well. It's on him. He gets that. Justin Herbert, if he's not playing well, I almost feel like with my old coach Steve Mariucci, people would say I'm in a conflict with Steve Mariucci, and as soon as someone would say that, I'm like, well then, if you have a conflict with Steve Mariucci, you're the problem. Because you can't have a conflict with that guy. He's that kind of personality. If you have a problem with Justin Herbert as a quarterback, I'm sorry. You have a problem with something else, because it's not Justin Herbert. It's got to be something else going on, because I think he has it all. So now if he doesn't prove it out, he still has to own it. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. But I think the context of that one is, if Justin's struggling, look around. Don't necessarily stare at him. He'll own his part, but don't necessarily stare at him. There's more to it.
Are we looking finally at the Chiefs falling to earth? They lose yesterday to the Broncos. If the season ended right now, they would actually miss the playoffs. I know there's a lot of time left, but you are a little concerned about the Chiefs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, I felt like last year, right around this time, they were a little better off than they were 5-5, but they were a muddled mess. You're like, I think this is. You would ask me a year ago, we would have talked, Michael. You would have said, "Hey, what about the Chiefs?" It would have been slightly better, but somewhat similar story. So I think that we all just better be, until they're out of the playoffs, we should be careful. Now, if they have to go on the road and start on the road in the playoffs and go that route, then you're going to say that's going to be tough for the Chiefs. But if somehow they can get back and get a home game and then maybe just one road game, then I don't, what about them in yesterday's game against the Broncos are playing great football, great defense. Like, what about that game? You say, oh, they can't do it. They didn't get blown out. They didn't get rummaged. Like, that was a good game against a top-flight team, and they got beat. That's the new news. But I think you should just be careful. Like, let's just hang on. They got a coach and a quarterback like none other. Let's just see what they get done in December and the rest of November.
Did the Vikings make a mistake handing the keys to the car to J.J. McCarthy? He had 58 terrible minutes, and the final 2 minutes he actually looked very good, but the Vikings ended up losing to the Bears. Is J.J. McCarthy ready for primetime?
I know. I mean, it's a bummer what Sam did yesterday, because I felt when they got rid of Sam Darnold, I just thought it was a big mistake. Sam's somebody you can build off of, relatively young, 26, 27, like could play for 10, 15 years. You can develop him. You have a great system. I know JJ was and nothing against JJ. Like, he's still a great, but you had a guy that the team loved, that you were building off, that had a crappy playoff game, that had an amazing season. Like, I know it's odd, but just let him go and hand the keys. It just felt like you don't need to do that. And so that was how I felt. So I'll tell you how now, fast forward a year later, yeah, it's going to be hard. You got a young quarterback, and we don't know. You know what the hit rate is on young quarterbacks making in the NFL, and it just makes it tough. And JJ now is going to have to. Now the problem is he's not on a crappy team or a crappy coach or a crappy offensive scheme and a team that doesn't understand the quarterback. So that one, like, if you struggle in Minnesota, it is about you. If you struggle in the Jets, there's some context. But if you struggle in Minnesota, I think it really is about you. So JJ's got to be careful.
Any concern, Sam Darnold, with the 4 interceptions? Obviously playing a really good team.
No, Sam's smarter. Yeah, Sam's better than that. Sam's smarter than that. And I think he's more experienced now, that he should be better than that. So he's got to feel like that was the worst game he's played in a number of years.
Yep.
Going back. So, yeah. And it was the biggest game. So then people are going to say, oh, they're going to get a theme going with the playoff game last year, big game this year. So he's going to have to battle out of that. But that's, you name a quarterback that's even in the Hall of Fame, they've had moments like this where they had to battle out of it. Sam's going to have to battle out of it.
How did you feel watching Shedeur Sanders? It seems like he's been put into a situation where the coach doesn't seem like he really wanted him, and he finally has to go in there because Dylan Gabriel got hurt, and he didn't look good. What are your thoughts on Shedeur?
It's so bizarre. Yeah, it's, how do you really feel, coach? How do you feel, general manager? How do you feel, owner? Wow, we really don't want this guy to play. Oh, really? Why'd you draft him? Why did we go through this mess? Why are we in the, why? Why are you, I don't care how you feel. Why do you give us a sense under any circumstances that for whatever reason you drafted somebody you don't want on the, your one job is to give us a sense that you love the players you have and they're purposeful and we're going to bring them together and we're going to find ways to make sure that we come together. And it's like, why would you tear apart your own team subtly by talking about that? So that's one side of it. I don't know. It baffles the mind. But now that he's playing, jump in, and let's support and I don't know. You bring up, Michael, something that you just wonder. The NFL takes in $10 billion a year, and these teams are worth $10 billion themselves. And there's 180 of the top 100 TV shows, rated TV shows last year were NFL football games. They own the world. Can we get people who can just do simple, smart things? Not a lot, but just simple. Can we just somehow get people? That's our whole conversation. Most of our conversation today is about can we just rationalize around smart, effective management of human beings in the context of football, so that at least we have a concerted effort and everybody's on the same page and we can go from there. It's like it's too much to ask. It baffles the mind.
What's not baffling though, Steve, and it's true. And we're talking with Steve Young here on the Michael K. Show. Teams are bad for a reason, and the old saying, "A fish rots from the head." They're bad for a reason. It's not by accident, Steve. They're people that just don't know what they're doing.
And it's generational.
Yes, it goes on and on.
It goes on and on, and we just go, oh well, because the problem is that we can fire everyone but the equity owner, and the equity owner you're absolutely stuck with, and that's the irony of it all. Is like there is no more. I can't think of a job that you're more accountable to more immediately in the world than quarterback, head coach, and general manager in the NFL. More immediately than those three jobs. And the one job that is absolutely completely protected against anything that could happen is the owner. Yet they're in there together. And so what naturally happens is the quarterback's the first to go, and the coach the second to go, and the general manager the third to go, and then
the owner
nothing else happens.
Yeah, the
never goes. And so that's the weakness. As many strengths as the NFL has, how they share revenue, amazingly smart. The antitrust exemption that they got, amazingly smart. Like the way that the NFL was built is why it's so great. The greatest flaw they have is that in the shared revenue, there's an inability to push. Now they finally made the teams pay out the cap number. They remember there were some owners that wouldn't even spend the cap.
Right.
And it's like now they force that at least so that you have to contribute. But there's no referendum on owners who are bad at football. They might be great in business or other things, but they're bad at football. There's no referendum. And then you have a fan base that they're stuck. And that's as many strengths as the NFL has. That's one of the weaknesses. And look, they didn't. I think they'd admit it too. It's like there's nothing you can do because we're in it together. 32 people are yoked together, and there's no way to kind of separate them. And I think it's one of the geniuses of the NFL, by the way. So, yeah.
Now, before I let you go, I ran into this guy a week ago, and he said that Steve Young was a great pitcher for Greenwich High School. And he said that he actually, in either a playoff game or a championship game, got 2 hits and 3 at-bats against you. And then he said, but I love Milky. And I said, Milky? He goes, yeah, that was his name because he drank milk. Was that your nickname, Milky?
No, I don't know. I love the story. Everything else about that story is true except the Milky part.
So he made it up.
Else was great. No, Springy. My nickname was Springy, and I think he's just gotten confused. But
what was Springy about?
Springy was, because I walked on my toes. I don't know, it was some weird thing, and just kind of it got stuck.
But not Milky, and you did drink milk though, right?
Although, hey, behind my back, they might have. I don't know.
Yes, maybe that's it.
Could, maybe it's something I don't know about. Which I love. But whoever it is, I trust their knowledge. They are true. The Milky thing, maybe I'm the one that's out on the cold on that. That might be back to the you remember the Patty Perna story now.
Yes, of course. We've been searching for her for years. Now, were you a good baseball player?
I love baseball, and I wanted to play baseball further than high school, but no one taught me how to hit. And I was with Kevin Millar, who played many years in Major League Baseball with the Red Sox and then at the Orioles at the end. We got to be really great friends. We were on the beach one time. We were doing a charity thing, and we're just out there with the kids. And I go, you know what, Kevin, no one ever taught me how to hit. And he goes, you got to squish the bug. And he went through the whole thing, how you move it. I go, where was this? Where was this? If you would have been in my life when I was 15 years old, maybe I, what I could have been.
What does squish the bug mean? What does that mean?
Well, it's how you turn, I pulled everything to second base, trying to muscle it. And It was just bad technique. And I never could figure it out, and then so I drag bunted. So I was all state in baseball drag bunny.
Oh, I know you got stuff to do, Springy, but thank you for coming on.
All right, Milky. Take care, bro.
Take it easy. That's Steve Young, the Hall of Famer. Great stuff from him. So I guess they call him Milky behind his back, but his name was Springy to other people. But we call him Steve Young. Great guest. Great guy, too. 1-800-919-3776. We'll talk with you when we get back. The K-Show rolling till 3 right here on ESPN New York.
Monday with Don Hahn and Rosenberg. A new coach didn't stop the Giants from losing another game they led in the fourth quarter. Is the roster the issue for Big Blue?
A lot of this has been the defensive side of the ball. So, we can blame Brian Dable for it, and he should be blamed because he hired Shane Bowen, but how much of this is cornerback coaches aren't doing a good job, and the defensive line coach isn't doing a good job, and Shane Bowen's not doing a good job? I would buy into all of it.
Don Hahn and Rosenberg today at 3 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
Is college even worth it these days? At Empire State University, it actually is. They are SUNY's leading online university. Flexible, affordable, and built for real life. With more than 120 degree programs, you can study what matters most to you. And students agree. They're ranked #1 in student satisfaction among SUNY schools. Whether you are finishing what you started or starting fresh, your goals are within reach. See for yourself. Visit SUNYEmpire.edu before the next term begins.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey. T&Cs apply.
This is Bart and Carlin on ESPN New York.
If it was actually a possibility of taking the job, that Mike Tomlin is going to be sitting here and be okay with Joe Shane being the GM. Mike Tomlin will always get the most out of his roster every single damn year.
I just can't see Mike Tomlin coming over here saying, I'm going to listen to Joe Shane.
No! So why would you make any coach come over here and do that?
Bart Scott, Chris Carlin, weekdays at 10 a.m. on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Shorter days don't have to be so dismal. It's time to reach out and check in with those you care about, and to remind ourselves that we're not alone. As seasons change and days grow darker sooner, it can be a tough time for many. This November, BetterHelp's encouraging everyone to reach out, check in on friends, reconnect with loved ones, and remind the people in your life that you're there. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. Short questionnaire helps you identify your needs and preferences, and our 12-plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means we typically get it right the first time. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from our tailored recommendations. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month. Just call pound 250 and say the keyword timeout. That's keyword timeout after calling pound 250.
Empower. Jen has ordered a decadent seafood tower, king crab legs, lobster tails, and a waterfall of caviar. Pricey? You bet. But Jen worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy and planned for splurges like these. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Ooh, champagne. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risk. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisory Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. OMG, those shrimps are really jumbo.
Target brings more taste, more flavor, and more deals to your Thanksgiving table. Save big on affordable holiday crowd pleasers, like select elevated sides and appetizers from Good & Gather for only $4.99. Favorite day pies for a sweet finishing touch, also just $4.99. And don't forget, great tasting turkey for only 79 cents a pound. So many cravings, so many ways to save. Step into the holidays and elevate your Thanksgiving today. Only at Target. Restrictions apply.
Game time, brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. 7:30, the Knicks are in Miami to play the Heat. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. right here on 880 ESPN. Tullamore Dew, the original triple distilled, triple blended, triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during today's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. You know, the Abdul Carter thing, it does aggravate me a little bit. I mean, those that are given greatness, they have great things thrust upon them, and they have great responsibility. So there's a site I follow on X, Giants Daily, and they do a good job covering the Giants. So we find out that Abdul Carter, according to The Athletic, overslept. He said, no, I was not sleeping. I was actually doing recovery. Nonetheless, that's on me. But Giants Daily said, being late to meetings has been a trend during Carter's rookie season that former coach Brian Daboll let slide, a source said. So it's unacceptable is what it is. This guy is a pristine talent out of Penn State. I mean, it was almost a no-brainer to select him. Not almost. It was a no-brainer. The kind of talent that he brings to the party should dictate to him being great. But a bad work ethic and habitual lateness, it's on everybody. It's not just on Daboll. Now, Daboll, now that he's gone, we're hearing that he kind of ran a very lax program where, he didn't really crack down on the players discipline-wise. And that's the way of the world, by the way. Let's not just jump on Brian Daboll. If you get too tough on the players, you lose them. In every sport. Believe me if you want to. Don't believe me if you feel like I'm full of it. I'm telling you. I could see the coaches that are being hired, the managers that are being hired. It's all about acquiescing to what the players want. So Brian Daboll said, let me, get more from them by anointing them with honey rather than vice versa. But it's also on the culture that's built. Now, players have to play. They have to worry about themselves, but there are leaders on the team, too. There are guys that actually wear that C on their jersey. And I've been around good teams. And those good teams had players that held other players responsible. Joe Torre didn't have to crack the whip on people. That stuff got taken care of within that room. It just did. It just did. Great teams employ players that look out for other players. Why would this guy with a half sack being taken at the top of the first round think it's okay to be late to meetings? Why? I don't get it. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. So it's on everybody. It's on everybody. That's all there is to it. And I think it's silly. And then Abdul Carter, probably feeling the heat for this. And he writes today, when the hate don't work, they start telling lies. Well, where's the lie? You missed a walkthrough, whether it was because you slept or you were in recovery, and you are taking, total blame on it. I get it. But where's the lie? Because they said you were sleeping, and as Steve Young said, recovery is also sleeping. So then we're playing a semantics game. But the fact that it's allowed to happen, that some veteran guy on the defensive side doesn't take Abdul Carter aside and say, dude, well, what are you doing? But that's hard to do on a team that just lost its coach, that's 2-9, that has lost heartbreaking games. And it goes back to what Steve Young was saying. A fish rots from the head. This stuff is allowed to go on. And as long as it's allowed to go on, you know what? Kids are going to be kids. It will go on. They will not self-correct. So I give Kafka credit. He had to play the guy because Thibodeau was out. But he sat him for the first defensive series. Good on him. Now, the best thing to do would be sit him for a game, but then you'd be hurting the team and yourself. Just weird. All right, we'll get to your phone calls. We haven't spoken to you yet. 1-800-919-3776. Hey, the FanDuel Sportsbook app is your home for all your favorite NFL bets, from yards to touchdowns to who will win. With FanDuel, any play can be the play of the game. Tonight, FanDuel is giving all customers a 30% PBT. That's right. You can get in on the action with a 30% PBT tonight during the Cowboys-Raiders game. So make FanDuel your go-to app for any snap. So just visit FanDuel.com/K to bet on the game. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg.
This whole idea that Joe Shane is just safe and you have nothing to worry about is apparently not true. He's going to do the due diligence. All right, here's a folder on him and a folder on him and a folder on him. They will determine who they want based off of his information. He is hardly safe. Not that he won't be back, but it's not a slam dunk that he will be back.
DiPietro and Rothenberg, morning 6 to 10 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
1 in every 6 men is likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. That's why New York Presbyterian wants to remind men over 50 to book a prostate cancer screening. A simple blood test is all it takes. It could save your life. Screenings are available across New York City and Westchester at locations near you. Schedule your annual prostate cancer screening today at nyp.org/cancer screening. Stay amazing. New York Presbyterian.
This is Rick Brunson, the assistant coach from the New York Knicks. I'll be driving to our games this season in style in my new Jeep Gladiator from Princeton Jeep. My friends at Princeton Jeep gave me all-star treatment, and you can expect the same thing. Just mention I sent you, and they'll treat you like family. Princeton Jeep has tons of inventory and great deals on new vehicles. Visit Princeton Jeep at 1045 State Road in Princeton, New Jersey, or online at PrincetonJeeps.com and tell them Rick Brunson sent you.
Some people just know you can save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check Kirk Herbstreit's pregame analysis first, before talking to your brother-in-law.
In this game, the key thing to watch will be the offensive line versus their front seven. If they can get pressure without blitzing, this could be a long night.
Okay, Kirk.
I know stuff.
Ooh, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first and see what you could save. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Potential savings vary, including based on how you buy, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Out here, it's football season, where nothing beats backyard grilling, gathering around the fire pit, and cheering on your favorite team with friends. The yard is mowed, the lights are strung, and the grill is warming up. Whether you need to fill up your propane, get a new grill, or even a generator, out here, it's game day. And we're ready for it. Tractor Supply, for life out here.
You live for this. The wins, the losses, the slam dunks, and the buzzer beaters. The dream that this is your team's year. Hope, it's what keeps you coming back. So you represent with anticipation and with pride. Because when everything's on the line, your support means everything. That's why the NBA Store is here to support you. Check out the largest selection of official NBA gear at NBAstore.com. A Fanatics experience.
The show, everybody. Michael K. and you for 2. We take you to 3 o'clock. At that time, it's Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. We have not spoken to you, my co-host, yet. So let's start it, and we'll go to Ira in Staten Island to start it out. What's up, Ira?
Hey, Michael. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Just the Carter situation. I don't know what's going on over there with the Giants, but when I watched him practice this year against the Jets, he had the quickest step, quicker than John Abraham. So I don't know what the Giants are dealing with, but they better get it straightened out if this guy's going to be what they expected him. But what I called you is about the Jets, and Ray brought up a good point when he took the call. There's 2 stories. The Taylor switch, to me, it's a no-brainer. I get it that they win a couple of games, but they have the ammunition to move up, but you owe it to the players. But the second story is that the coach actually on Monday said who's going to be the quarterback on Sunday. So to me, that's a bigger story than switching a quarterback.
He seems to be acting. I mean, it was an interesting story. I'm sure you saw it today, Ira, by Mark Cannizzaro, who's been around the Jets forever, who said that, Glenn's starting to get it a little bit. He made himself look like such a fool when Rich Cimini said that Garrett Wilson was going to be out 3 to 4 weeks with the knee injury. And then he wouldn't answer questions about it. Ask Rich. Rich was right. They put him on the injured list. So he's out a minimum of 4 weeks. So maybe he sat back and reflected and go, boy, do I look dumb. Do I look dumb? Now, one thing that I would push back with Ira about, so if they win a couple of games, they have the draft capital to move up, but that doesn't always work. The Giants had the draft capital to move up to get Drake May, but the Patriots wouldn't trade him. So if you got a team that's up top that needs a quarterback, no matter how much draft capital you have, The Giants could have offered the Patriots 5 first-round draft picks, and the Patriots were dead set on taking Drake May. So when you lose games like this, there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to move up no matter how much you package future first-round picks. You are what your record says you are when it comes to the draft. And, if you're bad enough and you're picking first or second, you don't have to worry about moving up. Because sometimes you've got to have a willing trade partner. And a team with the first or second pick, and you have the third or fourth pick, really needs a quarterback. And they really love the kid Mendoza, right? You're not getting him no matter what you offer. And the perfect example was the Giants with Drake May. The Patriots would not trade that pick because they felt that Drake May was the answer to their problems. Let's go to Greg in the work truck. Greg.
Michael, how are you, my friend?
How are you doing, Greg?
It's Monday, and I'm mostly spectacular. Thank you for asking.
Excellent.
Listen, when it comes to the Giants, this defensive collapse for what can be described as 4 or 5 games so far, it's a lack of effort, at least from what I'm seeing, and it shows me that this team has not only given up on Dable, which he's now gone, but they've also quit on the defensive coordinator. It looks like whether they're hurt or they're healthy, that they don't care, and only one player is really balling out, and it's Brian Burns. Everything revolves around that, but when your offense goes all out to do everything it can to win the game, and the defense can't stop a non-dripping nosebleed, it screams as to why Shane Bowen still has a job. And I really don't understand
but
why.
let me throw this back at you, Greg. See if you agree.
Yeah.
Let's say Shane Bowen is awful, okay? Don't you think a lot of it's on the players? I mean, I thought
Absolutely.
the defense was schematically fine yesterday, but the secondary couldn't cover anything. So maybe the players just aren't as good as people are making them out to be, other than Brian Burns.
That's a possibility, but the other thing that I refuse to believe, and I don't think you said this, it's you have most of these first-round picks on the defensive line, and you have Banks, who's been a disappointment. I refuse to believe that all these guys are that bad when all but one player, again, and Burns is the only one really killing it.
No, listen, I hear what you're saying, but Shane Bowen is also Brian Burns' coach, too. And Brian Burns doesn't seem to be having any ill effects with Shane Bowen as the defensive coach. I just don't think the talent is as good as people are making it out to be. Now, I think that he got very conservative in the game against the Broncos, and that ended up costing everybody, including that was the last straw. He lasted 2 more weeks, but that was the last straw for Dable, too. And I don't think that Shane Bowen is a great defensive coordinator. I'm not saying he is. But I think there's something on the player. It's the constant fight that we have all the time, whatever sport it could be. It seems like fans want to blame the coach or the manager rather than the players for not performing. Maybe it's the players. Maybe the players stink. I'm not absolving Shane Bowen of blame. He's gone. At the end of this year, he's gone. Anybody that comes in the coach, whether it's Mike Kafka or not, they're not keeping Shane Bowen. But they put themselves in this boat. And the reason they put themselves in this boat is they got rid of Wink Martindale because Martindale and Brian Dable clashed. So once you get rid of Wink Martindale, who was effective, I mean, the team went to the playoffs with Wink Martindale. Then the guy you bring in, if you give up on him, then you're admitting that you were wrong on Wink Martindale. One day, hopefully, we find out exactly what went wrong with Wink Martindale. What was the big thing that they could not live with each other? What was it? That you forced the hand of the Giants to go to hire Shane Bowen. And again, not saying Shane Bowen is great. Not saying he's terrible, though. You know what's been terrible? The overall Giant defense. So he owns some of it, and the players have to own some of it, too. They just have to. Let's go to Joe and Brick. Joe.
What's up, Michael? How you doing today?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing very well. You and I are just marching to the same beat. The team does stink. We got Gettleman messed up the salary cap. Shane came in, miraculously straightened it out, and in doing so, selected a terrible roster. So we have the situation, like you just said, is it the coaching or is it the players? Where I'm here to tell you that if you or I coached that game yesterday, the outcome probably would have been the same. The Giants players are subpar, so they're like, kind of in the game, can't quite break away from anybody, but they'll always lose because the talent is inferior. I don't know how come no one else can see it, and how Shane is he safe? What do you think?
I don't think he's necessarily safe, Joe, because if you listen to Dave Rothenberg in the morning, he's heard from people, and he's got some connections in the Giant organization that he's not necessarily safe, that they're going to do a complete revamp at the end of the year and look at everything. But my problem is, why is he running point on the head coach? Why can't you do the work on him right now? And if he's not the right guy, then bring in a search committee to find a head coach. Why should his fingerprints be on the coach that's presented to the owners to say yay or nay? Is he the guy moving forward or not? That's a big question. Because I'm sorry, I keep hearing over and over and over again, you know what, they've got some pretty good talent. Well, tell me where. Jackson Dart looks like he's a keeper. Burns obviously is excellent. I'm not going to rip Lawrence. He hasn't had the year that he had last year. He's pretty good. Kayvon Thibodeau, to me, I thought he'd be better than this. He's not bad. He's not great. And Abdul Carter has been a disappointment so far. But where are the great players on the Giants? Would you look at Cam Scadaboo and say, great player? I'd say he's a serviceable running back who's exciting. I think Malik Neighbors is a great player. You think Bellinger or Johnson are great tight ends? Tracy, Singletary, are they great runners? Although they did pretty well yesterday. Where are the great players? 4 years of drafts. Where are they? Where's Joe Shane's great players? And he could do whatever he wants and try to fashion the coverage of him by allowing access behind the scenes. Show me the great roster that we have. Show me it. I was driving home one day, actually the day I went to the Giant game against the 49ers. I was listening to the postgame show, and Tiki Barber was saying, you know what, the roster's not that good. This isn't me who didn't play or you who didn't play. This is a guy who was working for the Giants pre- and post-game show and said, you know what? This is not a great roster. So you could blame Brian Daboll for whatever transgression you want to give him. But you got to look a little bit deeper. It's not always the coach. Sometimes it's the people that put the team together. And this is not a great team. I'm sorry. It's not. There's so much more. I wouldn't say more, but you could have just as many negatives that Joe Shane is giving you than positives. That's not a net positive for me. That's, he has to keep his job. And if he's not going to keep his job, why is he running point on the head coach? We'll be back in just a moment. We'll talk to Scott Van Pelt. We've got a big Monday Night Football game coming up as well. It's K&U for 2 until 3 right here on ESPN New York.
Monday with Don Hahn and Rosenberg. A new coach didn't stop the Giants from losing another game they led in the fourth quarter. Is the roster the issue for Big Blue?
A lot of this has been the defensive side of the ball. So, we can blame Brian Daboll for it, and he should be blamed because he hired Shane Bowen, but how much of this is cornerback coaches aren't doing a good job, and the defensive line coach isn't doing a good job, and Shane Bowen's not doing a good job? I would buy into all of it.
Don Hahn and Rosenberg today at 3 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
At the 5-yard line, handoff, Breece Hall finds a crease, runs left, he's into the end zone for a Jet touchdown. Jets fans, clear the runway and be at MetLife Stadium for Week 13 as your New York Jets take on the Atlanta Falcons. Sunday, November 30th at 1 p.m., presented by New Jersey Lottery. Join us as we celebrate First Responders Day. Don't miss your chance to be at the game. Lock in your seats now at nyjets.com/tickets. Once again, that's nyjets.com/tickets.
880 ESPN, WHSQ, and WCBS-FM HD2, New York. A Good Karma Brands radio station.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Shorter days don't have to be so dismal. It's time to reach out and check in with those you care about, and to remind ourselves that we're not alone. As seasons change and days grow darker sooner, it can be a tough time for many. This November, BetterHelp's encouraging everyone to reach out, check in on friends, reconnect with loved ones, and remind the people in your life that you're there. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. Short questionnaire helps you identify your needs and preferences, and our 12-plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means we typically get it right the first time. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from our tailored recommendations. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month. Just call pound 250 and say the keyword timeout. That's keyword timeout after calling pound 250.
Your fantasy roster is set. The Smack Talk is heating up, and this season, ESPN Bet is giving you more ways to ride with your squad. Introducing the ESPN Bet Fan Center, where you can instantly link and bet on your fantasy teams right in the ESPN Bet app. An enhanced sports betting experience only from ESPN Bet, the sports book for sports fans. Make the connection today with ESPN Bet Fan Center and the ESPN Fantasy app. ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Download the app today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
Welcome back to the Michael K. Show, 6 p.m. tonight. It's Monday Night Countdown on ESPN, hosted by the lovely and talented Scott Van Pelt. 8:15, Cowboys Raiders. That'll be on ABC 7 here in New York, and of course on ESPN. And then 11:30 following the game, Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt on ESPN. And the aforementioned Scott Van Pelt joins us now right here on this show, and we love having him on. Hi, Scott. How you doing?
I'm well. It's been a long time since I've been in Vegas, but it's just funny being back. I used to come here as a younger man, and I laugh now as an older man at the younger me. But making better decisions on this trip. It's a work trip, so I'm just kind of giggling to myself, looking out at the strip.
Well, so I'm thinking, you're still a living, breathing adult. Do you go to the casino for a little bit in between prep for tonight's shows?
Yeah, of course. Well, not in between shows. Last night, I have a dear friend from the University of Maryland who's done very well for himself and is out here, and we actually had a great steak dinner. And then my colleague Stanford Steve is a proponent of Pai Gow poker. Now, let me be clear. I watched him play. I don't understand what happened. I don't understand the rules. I really couldn't figure any of it out, but I was having such fun on the floor. I'm much more of a deal me two cards. I decide if I need to hit it or don't hit it, and that's blackjack. And I'll play. I mean, when I'm out here, but it's a very different time in my life than as a younger man when I was, those that remember like turn of the millennium Hard Rock, there was just bad decisions made repeatedly.
So what you're telling me is that you're not really throwing a lot of your vast wealth on the table. You just have some fun.
No. As a man that had zero money, I was thinking I was going to win the casino, and now I'm not saying I'm some land baron, but it's just you got kids, you can't be out here rolling the dice and putting big cash on the table. I got to pay for braces in college and all that stuff, Michael.
You know what I always think, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way. Like when I was young, I loved to play blackjack. I mean, I could play for 7 hours. I just loved it.
No doubt.
I loved it. But now, I've done okay in life. There's nothing that I could win that's going to change my life in a casino. And if I lose stuff that I work so hard for, it just rankles me. Do you feel like that at all?
That's perfectly said, and excellent use of rankle, and that's I think that's the apt description. Because and you're saying it well, and you want to be you don't want your listeners to eye roll at the idea that if you won some number of dollars, of course you'd be happy to have that in your pocket and put it in the carry-on coming home. But the idea is you're not going to gamble enough that you're going to win something that's going to change who your position in the life. But if you look, pick a number, and I don't want to say a crazy number. Say you lose $1,000, or you could lose more than that.
It would just destroy
and you'd be pissed. You'd be like, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this?" So I found myself playing, and I actually got up, and I thought, "Okay, this is enough. I should walk." But then, of course, you don't, because where am I going to go? And anyway, listen. I don't owe anyone anything, and that's a good play. If you leave here even, you leave here up. That's the way I look at it.
Are you surprised, since you're in Vegas, are you surprised at how bad the Raiders are with Pete Carroll as the coach and Geno Smith as the quarterback? Have they surprised you by their ineptitude this year?
Completely. And actually had a talk with someone yesterday it's with the Raiders organization, just very frank about, they're surprised. They felt like they were ascending in some areas where things have kind of gotten that just haven't been as good as they thought. I thought bringing in the combination of a very competent guy in Geno Smith. I'm not saying a superstar, but a competent guy at that position. You draft Genty, which I thought that was high for running back. I don't know. But Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, a guy who I've known for years, I thought all of that felt like it was trending up. I thought the entire division would be much better. And I thought they'd be part of it. So, yes, I'm surprised that the Raiders have had the kind of year they've had. Now, in this coin flip league, Michael, where you have to win the close games, right? The Giants haven't been able to do that. That's why Brian Daboll doesn't have a job. They've lost one close game after another. I mean, went for 2 against Jacksonville, could have won it. Had a field goal blocked against the Bears, could have won it. And, would it change who they are as a team had they won those? No, not really. They wouldn't be some, Super Bowl threat. But their record would be a whole lot different had they just won a couple of these coin flip games that they've been in, and they just haven't.
I wonder, in this day and age in football, where people lose their job after 1 year, would Pete Carroll be in danger if they continue to just have a terrible, spiraling out of control season?
I don't think so. I think that one, there's a sincere enthusiasm around him, and he didn't come back just for some check. I think they want to try to build around him. I don't think that this is the kind of thing that is a short term, like we'd pull the plug, because I don't think they view it as being all on him. I mean, they made a move with this like special teams. I think they believe they fired their special teams coach following the most recent loss, and they've just had a number of breakdowns in that. So no, I don't think that's going to be what they do. I don't think they're punting on Pete Carroll.
So the Raiders are going to be facing the Cowboys tonight. What do you make of the Cowboys? I can't even get a real good grip on them. I mean, are they a bad team, or I'm not quite sure what to make of them?
Well, I mean, they've been I go back, and it feels like a lifetime ago, because Russell Wilson was the quarterback for the Giants in that early season game where, it was back and forth, and it kind of is a snapshot of who the Giants have been this year, right? They just couldn't win a close game, and the Cowboys are giving up all these yards and all these points, and they've done that quite a bit. They just haven't been good enough defensively. And to that, they go out and they get a couple of big pieces, one of them from the Jets and Williams. And it feels like it maybe is a little late because you let Parsons go before the season. And now you're probably too far down in the pecking order in the NFC to make a move. But I think they're what they've largely been for most of my time at ESPN, which is a relatively entertaining team that people on our air talk a lot about, that ultimately don't matter in the grand scheme of the picture, the playoff picture within the NFC.
Let's talk about a team that I'm a little bit confused on, because all they do is win. But when I watch them, I'm not blown away, and that's the Eagles. So they beat the Lions, and the Eagles' defense is just outstanding. The Lions, I believe, were 0 for 4 on 4th down, 0 for 5 on 4th down tries, and that's just not the Lions from last year. But the Eagles just don't seem like they do enough on offense to think that they're going to repeat.
I totally understand that position and have said some version of that, Michael, throughout this season. I feel like 4 or 5 times. And then our crew, and obviously Jason Kelsey wore the uniform and is not impartial as it relates to that. He'll just sort of smile that great smile and shrug and go, I don't know, they're 8-2. You know what I mean? Like, right. So they currently have the a leg up for home field because they won that wild game against the Rams, who were playing fantastic. They beat them earlier this year on that blocked field goal at the end of a game. But yeah, I'm with you. And Lane Johnson, their very talented lineman, is apparently going to be a candidate for an IR because he has a foot injury. Yeah, I wouldn't want to make a living continuing to win all these close games where you just don't have any wiggle room on a scoreboard. But I do think that the defensive performance and show they put on last night was outrageous. I mean, that Detroit team can score a ton of points on you. And yeah, I think Campbell sometimes, I get it, your identity is to go for it. And I mean, we made the blackjack analogy. Like if you hit every 16 against a face card, well, then you can't just get scared that maybe it's not going to work. Like if you go for it, then go for it. And he did. But I do think that on a night last night where clearly a few points here and there were going to help you, that felt a little stubborn. But that Eagle defense was incredible last night, and it's why they won. But I'm with you. I've said for a month and a half, I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC. They're the team that when I watched them impressed me the most. It's a hell of a game with Seattle yesterday. Both defenses were great. I think those are two really good football teams. I think the top of the NFC is excellent. But the Eagles, for the moment, it's still going to go through the link, and those folks will have a say in what happens because that's an incredible home field.
Now, when you say top of the NFC, and you're looking at records, you're going to have to say that one of the teams that you have to be referring to is the Bears, and that's another team, Scott, that I look at it leaves me empty. I go, they're not that good. I mean, I could see some things, and Ben Johnson's innovative, and he seems to be getting the most out of Caleb, but I don't think that's a great team. Do you?
No, I don't. And look, two things can be true at the same time. Their record's 7-3, and they're first in the North, and bully for them. But they have continued to win games. That we talked Raiders a little earlier, right? I mean, they beat them out here because they got a block on a kick at the end of the game, and they win one yesterday where they let the Vikings kind of hang around all day, and then now you got to try to pull another rabbit out of hats. I've said this forever. You're eventually going to hit the bottom of the hat, and there's no more rabbits in there. And I was looking this morning, Michael, getting ready for tonight's show. I don't know how much of a topic it'll be if it comes up. It's just if you look at the Vikings schedule, it gets a hell of a lot harder. They've got a game with the Steelers coming up. They've got several games with the Packers. They've got a game with the Lions at the end. I believe they have many games they've got left. They got 7 games left, and 6 of them are against teams that have winning records. So you're playing much better teams from now until the holidays. And what I'd say is if they are a good team, they're going to prove it to you, me, and everybody else. But they're going to have an opportunity also to play themselves into the wild card or even potentially out of it if they were to lose a bunch of these games because their schedule is just so much more difficult.
Talking to our good friend Scott Van Pelt here on the Michael K. Show, reaching into the hat and seeing that there's no rabbit there. Are we at that point with the Chiefs after their loss yesterday to the Broncos? They're right now not in the playoffs.
It's so hard for me to say yes and punt on them.
Me too.
Because they're them, and they've earned the benefit of the doubt. Their schedule, conversely to, say, the Bears, is more manageable moving forward, but their issue is that they're chasing some teams now that, they've never been in this place, Michael, where you got to look at, say, like, are we going to get in? And you look at Jacksonville and you say, okay, they won, and they beat the Chargers, and they're 6-4. Well, the Chiefs lost to them on Monday Night Football, a game where we were in Jacksonville earlier this year. So they find themselves needing to leap over some teams, and some teams that they've got head-to-head losses against. I mean, the AFC West is done. Like that run is over. It looks like Denver has a stranglehold on the division for now. But yeah, look, at some point you've got 5 losses, and you have zero ability to keep absorbing these and make the playoffs. At minimum, it would seem certain that they are going to be, if they make it, on the road wild card weekend, which means you've got to win 4, not 3, to win a Super Bowl. So do you put that past them? I don't. But when I watch them, I also don't see a team that reminds me of these great Chiefs teams that they've been for the last decade. So, yeah, unfortunately I am apt to do. It's a long way to get to, yeah, I'm really wondering what the Chiefs are because they don't look like a great football team because they're not.
All right, so who are you looking at the top of the AFC? It's kind of confusing.
Agreed. Listen, I still think Buffalo is going to be hard to beat just because of Allen. Yesterday is the perfect snapshot of what they are. You want to beat him, you're going to have to deal with that guy, and he's going to be responsible for 6 touchdowns. And Denver keeps winning, but there's a little bit of I don't know if it's the Bears, but I mean, there are these games like the game they won on Thursday against the Raiders last week. At the end of it, you go, I don't know, man. They played like a kind of very pedestrian football for mostly 3 quarters against a bad team, and they won.
Doesn't make you swoon. He just doesn't make you
no,
swoon.
Not at all. Listen, there's no one in the AFC that I'm blown away by. The Patriots might find themselves with home field, and I am a monstrous Vrabel apologist, always have been. And Drake May's playing well, but he is a second-year guy that's never been in the playoffs. No one's scared of that. If the playoffs come around and say Baltimore gets in, although they didn't look great yesterday, and the Bills find themselves there in the mix, you're going to probably defer to guys you've sort of seen do it. Lamar hasn't had the great playoff runs, but just quarterbacks that you just probably have more inherent trust in. But I'm with you. The top of the AFC is a collective shrug for me in terms of, who do you love? The teams I tend to love don't have great records. I mean, Baltimore's got 5 losses too, and I didn't quit on them early this year, and I'll hang on to that stock. But I mean, they're not blowing me away right now either.
Ravens beat the Browns 23-16. I'm wondering, Scott, do you feel badly for Shedeur Sanders? We have Steve Young on. They said he just doesn't understand why the Browns even selected him. It doesn't seem like they want him. It doesn't seem like Stefanski wants him. Do you feel badly for this guy?
Do I feel badly? I mean, he didn't ask for this part of the media circus. I mean, I think the whole Colorado experience, and you're Deion's son, and you have succeeded on some level, but not at the level that maybe is commensurate with the amount of attention you're getting. And then you clearly lean into that because that's the era that we're in, right? You make videos about yourself and all this and that. And you have a level of attention that doesn't connect to where you're seen within the NFL. And so, yeah, I feel badly from that maybe you've convinced yourself that you're something, meaning like a star NFL quarterback, that you're not, at least yet. Mm-hmm. And then you get all this attention that you didn't ask for, this kind of attention, but that's kind of how it goes in our business, right? I mean, if you're going to step into the spotlight, you don't always get to pick what you are in that spotlight. And there is no third-string quarterback that is going to be talked about on our air or your air or anywhere else except him. I mean, we've seen third-string guys get in the past. And I see what happened yesterday is this Rorschach test. There are people that are apologizing for why his performance was horrible because he didn't get any reps, and they want him to fail. And I find that to be preposterous. Who drafts a player and wants him to fail? This is a guy whose job is on the line. That doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe there can be some truth in the fact that you don't get reps with starters, and so you're not going to be good. And maybe you're not putting any good stats or good tape out there because you're not good yet. 4 for 16 or whatever it was. I mean, you saw what you saw. And so it turns into people explaining it away on the one hand, or wanting to say this guy can never do it. I don't think he can never do it. I just don't think he can do it right now. The how and why probably is a little bit of everybody's fault, right? Should you have even taken him? Does the coach want him? I don't know, but I sure hope he plays better if he gets out there this week if Gabriel's in concussion protocol again. But my God, there's no other third-string quarterback that is talked about the way this player is.
Talking with Scott Van Pelt, his weekly spot here on the show. Now, before I let you go, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm picturing you right now in a suite like they had at The Hangover. I'm even thinking maybe there might be a leopard cub in there. So when you're in this room and there's wall-to-wall windows, do you see a ballpark rising out of the ground that the A's will one day play in? Does that exist?
I'm looking right now to see. I'm looking out. I think my view doesn't afford me that, but it's somewhere out here, right? Aren't they doing that?
I would hope.
Yeah, no, I mean they're coming here to Vegas. I see golf courses. I see the Encore. I see the Wynn. I don't know. It's a lovely. I mean, the accommodations are quite nice. There are no wild animals. I am here by myself. I mean, there was no late night party again, other than me watching Steve try to play Pai Gow and me try to understand it. But I don't see a ballpark. But I did see the Sphere driving around. That was good fun. My God, that's an entertaining looking joint. I'd love to go see a concert there, but I'm just in and out this week. I have heard that the Wizard of Oz is an unbelievable thing to see there. Mike Breen told me it's amazing. See, everything that I've heard that people see there is amazing, from U2 to the Dead and Company or whatever. But I I don't know. I just can't even make sense that it's a real thing. But this is where, again, I sound very old and washed. But here I am, the reality of my life.
You know, they didn't think they had a party in The Hangover either, but it turned out that they did. You know, sometimes things get blurry. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, listen, we got one more night here. I mean, after we get done with our show tonight, I mean, good Lord, it's still early in Vegas. I always say it's always 10:30 in Vegas. So we'll operate off that premise, and we'll see folks tonight for Raiders and Cowboys. How's that?
All right, 6 p.m. Monday Night Countdown. Scott Van Pelt, ESPN, 8:15. Cowboys, Raiders, ABC and ESPN. 11:30 after the game. Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt on ESPN. Scott, you know how I feel about you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Always, my friend. Be well.
Be well. That is Scott Van Pelt. So, you know, the Cowboys are on. The Raiders, it's not the sexiest matchup, but when you have the Cowboys, there's always interest. And we'll see how that one plays out. And, you know, I hope that no one took it the wrong way, what I was talking about when it comes to gambling. So let's say I walk into the Mohegan Sun. And all I ask, because I love to play blackjack so much, is that I could play 8 hours. I could sit there for 8 hours, as long as I don't, you know, lose a lot of money. But I wonder if anybody out there within the sound of my voice understands what I'm saying. You've established yourself, you make a decent living, and you work hard for your money. What amount of money would change your life if you went into a casino, right? So, you know, if I ended up somehow winning $100,000, that would have an impact. But in order to win $100,000, you got to put a lot of money up. You got to bet a lot on each hand. And to me, because I feel I work hard for my money, I would feel miserable if I lost it. And so I try to do a mathematical equation. How miserable would I feel if I lost versus how ecstatic I would feel if I won? Now, I would be awfully happy to win $100,000. I mean, I might go out and just buy a car that night that I might not buy. I might. But if I lost like $6,000 trying to win that $100,000, it would not feel good. It would not feel good. So there's nothing that would change. Now, the $100,000 would make me just overjoyed, but it wouldn't change my life to the point where I want to risk losing money that I work 2 jobs to earn. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does it sound silly to you? I've always felt like that ever since I started earning a decent living. That, you know, sometimes I could walk past a casino. Like, I'm going to host again this year the Connecticut Cancer Foundation dinner in February at the Mohegan Sun. And I've done it for the, you know, last however many years. And I don't even like venture into the casino. I just don't. Because it just plays with my mind. Do I really want to do this and lose the money in order to, you know, in the unlikely event that I'd make $100,000? I hope that makes sense to all of you. And as Scott said, you're not eye-rolling me right now. I just hope it does. Tell me if it does. 1-800-919-3776. Some of the other things going on, some signings in baseball, I think that will have some impact for both New York teams. We'll talk about that as well. Hey, the FanDuel Sportsbook app is your home for all your favorite NFL bets. From yards to touchdowns to who will win, with FanDuel, any play can be the play of the game. Tonight, FanDuel is giving all customers a 30% PBT. That's right. You can get in on the action with a 30% PBT tonight during the Cowboys-Raiders game. So make FanDuel your go-to app for any snap. Just visit FanDuel.com/K to bet on the game. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Monday with Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. A new coach didn't stop the Giants from losing another game they led in the fourth quarter. Is the roster the issue for Big Blue?
A lot of this has been the defensive side of the ball. So, we can blame Brian Dable for it, and he should be blamed because he hired Shane Bowen, but how much of this is cornerback coaches aren't doing a good job, and the defensive line coach isn't doing a good job, and Shane Bowen's not doing a good job?
I would buy into all of it.
Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg today at 3 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
If you've been injured on a construction site, then you need a lawyer who knows New York's unique labor laws. At the Parisman Firm, they have decades of experience handling construction accident cases and a proven track record of delivering huge results. Their team has already recovered nearly $1 billion for hardworking New Yorkers. From scaffold accidents to slip and falls and equipment failures, they've got your back. Call the Parisman Firm now at 718-WORKERS. That's right, 718-WORKERS, because your case is their cause. Get the justice you deserve today.
This is DiPietro and Rothenberg.
Dropped by Fields, and now it looks like New England has recovered.
I don't think they're giving themselves a legitimate chance to win football games with Justin Fields as their quarterback.
We're all accountable for that. Coaches, make sure we put our guys in the right position just to make sure we get the ball to some other guys.
They're still an undisciplined team.
Details and discipline. That was a box that we didn't check.
A lot of miscommunication out there. Guys not on the same page.
I, as a fan, think we should lose.
And I don't think that's wrong.
This is DiPietro and Rothenberg.
Why? How is this possible?
Ask Rich.
Morning Start with DiPietro and Rothenberg. Weekdays from 6 to 10 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
At the 5-yard line, handoff Brees Hall, finds a crease, runs left, he's into the end zone for a Jet touchdown. Jets fans, clear the runway and be at MetLife Stadium for Week 13 as your New York Jets take on the Atlanta Falcons. Sunday, November 30th at 1 p.m., presented by New Jersey Lottery. Join us as we celebrate First Responders Day. Don't miss your chance to be at the game. Lock in your seats now at nyjets.com/tickets. Once again, that's nyjets.com/tickets.
Health surprises can change your life in an instant. You've seen it happen to others, but it doesn't have to be your story. At Princeton Longevity Center, we customize actionable and proactive health plans to maximize your lifespan and take control of your health. Our Cancer Check program combines cutting-edge technology with top medical expertise to keep you ahead of potential risks. With advanced full-body imaging, genetic testing, and multi-cancer detection blood tests, we look for even the earliest signs of problems. Results are analyzed by expert physicians who craft a personalized plan to safeguard your future. You're not just a patient, you're a partner in your health journey, backed by a team committed to helping you live longer, healthier, and more vibrantly. Our programs have saved hundreds of lives and empowered countless others to take control of their health. Be proactive with your health for the ultimate peace of mind. Call 888-8000-PLC or visit PrincetonLongevityCenter.com.
At AT&T, we guarantee our network so you can talk college football with your BFF while taking Buster to the vet.
Hey, yeah, I can't believe he ate the whole thing of chicken wings.
And I can't believe we're staging a comeback. Touchdown! Yes!
Staying connected matters. That's why in the rare event of a network outage, you'll automatically get a bill credit for a full day's service. For wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers, must be connected to impacted tower at onset of outage. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for full details.
Michelle Smallman here for Gainbridge and their Give Back program, Gainbridge Assist, powered by Parity. Gainbridge and Gainbridge Assist, powered by Parity's goal is to empower girls and women through sports and education, providing 32 organizations in 21 states $222 of grant funding during 2025. These grants aim to level the playing field and expand access to sports and education for girls and women across the country. Here's to a future with no limits for women's sports with Gainbridge and Gainbridge Assist, powered by Parity.
I don't understand young athletes on social media. So there's a guy, Bobby Skinner, who runs Giants Nation's pod. All right. And so the Abdul Carter stuff is coming out. So Dan Duggan, senior writer for The Athletic, he covers the Giants. He tweeted out a while ago, Giants rookie linebacker Abdul Carter was benched for the opening drive of yesterday's loss to the Packers for missing a walkthrough Carter was asleep in the team facility at the time of the walkthrough. Then Bobby Skinner writes, maybe he should get that number 56 after all. To which Abdul Carter has 2 laughing, crying emojis. You just got disciplined for not showing up at a walkthrough. You didn't play the first defensive series of the game. It's kind of a bad look. And you're jostling with people back and forth on social media. Why don't you just lay low? Well, why would anybody think that's a good idea? Again, I can't get into the mind of a 20-year-old, but just common sense would tell you stop. So, I mean, the reason I can't get inside Bobby Skinner's head, but Bobby Skinner's saying maybe he should get that 56 after all because, Lawrence Taylor did some bad things. And the thing that got Lawrence Taylor through those bad things is that he was an extraordinary football player. Extraordinary. So he got away with it. At this point, Abdul Carter is not an extraordinary football player, and thankfully, it doesn't seem like his transgressions are as serious as Lawrence Taylor's. But you're going to laugh at a comment like that? I guess if you don't laugh, you'll cry. I'm not quite sure. And as I said before, this is on everybody. I don't want to put it on Brian Burns. I don't. It's not fair. I don't want to put it on Lawrence. I don't. But these are guys that have been in the NFL for a while. And you don't have to be a coach, and you shouldn't have that responsibility. But, they say, pay it forward, right? Okay, pay it forward. Pull this guy aside and say, stop. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Makes no sense to me. While I didn't do the show on Friday, Thursday night, Aaron Judge won the MVP. So he had 17 first-place votes to 13 for Cal Raleigh. And I know that people in Seattle and in the Pacific Northwest were rooting for Cal Raleigh to win the award. I get it. And Cal Raleigh in many years would win the award. But they choose to disparage Aaron Judge that Raleigh didn't win the award. And a guy that, I have the utmost respect for is Dan Patrick. He's smart, great on the air. He's not a hot take artist. But I believe that Dan said that if Cal Raleigh was a Yankee and Aaron Judge had the same year with the Mariners, that Cal Raleigh would have won the MVP. I just don't believe that to be true. Because if anything, there's a New York bias against Yankees. And there might be a fatigue about Judge. So how would it be possible that Judge got the award because he played for the Yankees? The same exact numbers that we saw. The same exact numbers. Judge is going to win the MVP if he plays in Kansas City. He had one of the all-time great years of anybody, ever. Only the third guy to hit over 50 home runs and win a batting title. And we're going to disparage the guy because the guy that hit 60 home runs, which is unbelievable, plays a really important defensive position, hardly misses any innings, that he didn't win the MVP, and we're going to say it's because Judge is a Yankee? Now, maybe what Dan was trying to say is, he had the spotlight of New York City on him. I still don't buy it. I believe that the 2 voters in New York, one of them voted for Raleigh. So, please, somebody explain it to me how Cal Raleigh got rooked when he lost to a guy that had one of the great seasons ever. And you can say, well, the Mariners won the West. Okay. Yankees won more games than Seattle and tied for the American League East with the team that went to the 7th game and the 11th inning of the World Series. So the Yankees didn't exactly have a bad season. It's not like Judge is Andre Dawson winning an MVP coming off a last place season. So I don't quite understand the outrage. And I understand fan bases want their players to win. Get it, got it, you should. That's what makes sports great. But there wasn't a loser here. Aaron Judge won fair and square. He should have been the MVP. He only trailed in home runs and RBIs. Every other important category, he destroyed Raleigh. Destroyed him. And now we're going to put, the importance of the position. Oh, okay. Then why does Shohei Ohtani win last year when he didn't pitch? He didn't play a position. So help me out with that. I mean, sometimes DHs get into the Hall of Fame. Sometimes they win MVPs. And Judge did play the majority of his games in right field, and he only started DHing when the elbow became an issue. Just because a guy won that you wanted your guy to win doesn't mean that you have to disparage the guy that won. Nor should we disparage Cal Raleigh, who had just one of the great seasons that you'll ever see. Doesn't deserve it doesn't mean that you disparage Judge, just in my opinion. Your thoughts, 1-800-919-3776. I said this a couple of weeks ago. I said it after the ALCS ended. There was one player that caught my eye that blew me away with his greatness and clutch ability, and that was Josh Naylor. I mean, he did things for Seattle in big moments, playing with an aggression and an energy. Now, I'd seen Josh Naylor play a lot with Cleveland, but not as much as I watched him on a daily basis during the postseason this year. And there's one thing that springs to my mind about him. He's a winner. He plays baseball and knows how to win, does little things well. The guy is slow. I mean, he is slow. They stole 30 bases this year just on baseball acumen. Just because he knows how to read pitchers and get a jump. He's not fast at all. He stole 30 bases. 28 years old, so combined with the Guardians and the Mariners, he actually started with the Diamondbacks this year. 295, 20 homers and 92 runs batted and 30 stolen bases. In 12 postseason games, he had 340, 3 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and 2 stolen bases. I said at the time, this guy can play. Boy, he caught my eye. Well, the Mariners signed him to a 5-year deal. Good for him. And they realized that the energy and enthusiasm that he brought to the game was worth that kind of commitment. Now, how does that impact the New York team? One more team off the market for Pete Alonso. And I don't think that Pete Alonso is a good fit at Safeco Field anyway. You got to really, really hit the ball a long way to get it out in left field. Pete Alonso is a great fit at Citi Field, which is not a great home run park, but it's not unfair like Seattle. Unbelievable fit for Boston, and an unbelievable fit probably for Houston, but Houston is not trading Christian Walker, so there's no fit there. So that's one team that needed a first baseman that's off the list. Maybe that helps the Mets get him at a more reasonable price. But congratulations to Seattle to sign Josh Naylor. Yankees signed Ryan Yarbrough. Now, you might say, what's the big deal? It is a big deal because the Yankees need starting pitching that can get starts, make starts, until Cole comes back and Rodon comes back. They got to fill those starts. And Ryan Yarbrough, before he got hurt this year, did a good job. And once those guys come back, and why it's a perfect signing for the Yankees, then Ryan Yarbrough goes right in the bullpen where he translates nicely. That's a good, smart signing by them. To bring him back, Joel Sherman reporting $2.5 million with a chance to make $250,000 in bonus money. So that's two of the things that free agency starting to, not quite heat up, but Josh Naylor's the first one to come off the board. We see what else happens. Let's go to Mike in Michigan. Mike, what's up?
Hey, Michael, thanks so much for taking my call. Love the show. Yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about this Judge thing, and I think you said it well. I've been over on Twitter, X, and, hearing a lot of the takes from Seattle fans, and one of the things that they've been trumpeting out is, a few years from now, nobody's going to remember this Judge season. This is an historic season from Cal, and you got to, grant that or whatever. Well, listen, about 2 years ago or however long ago it was, Judge set the AL record for home runs. That was an historic season. And what did he do? He backed it up with another historic season. If you look at Judge's rookie year, 2017, this is all well documented. There was a similar statistical difference between him and Altuve as Judge and Cal this year. Altuve won because of all the advanced analytic numbers and WAR and all that. And come to find out, not only did Judge get jobbed because Altuve was cheating, but they won a World Series that year because they were cheating. And how did Judge respond to that? He's won 3 MVPs in 4 years. So if Kyle Raleigh's this great player, which, he looked great this past year, but if he wants to respond, he can respond the way Judge responded. And how did Judge respond? He won 3 MVPs in 4 years after losing that in his rookie year. So, hey, he had a great year. I get that Seattle loves him and you want your guy to win, but acting like Judge robbed him or something is crazy. And if Cal needs extra motivation, well, hey, come back and try again next year because that's what Judge did.
It's funny, Mike. I saw that same argument. In years, Judge's season will be forgotten. No, it won't. It's one of the greatest seasons that any right-handed hitter has ever put up. It's not going to be forgotten. Nor will Cal Raleigh hitting 60 home runs primarily as a catcher. That won't be forgotten. But to say like Judge had just, this pedestrian season, ridiculous. Kind of making a fool of yourself by that argument. And again, I understand why Seattle fans are upset. Because their guy had a tremendous season. But look at the important stats that people look at if you're putting together, a case. He beat him in B WAR. He beat him in F WAR by significant margins. And F WAR is the one that really jumps out at me because that's the one that puts a lot of emphasis on defense. And Raleigh's defense is outstanding. And Judge still beat him in Fangraphs WAR. And he beat him soundly in Baseball Reference WAR. Really, what leg do you have to stand on to say that Judge robbed him? And it was a close vote, as it should have been. 17 first-place votes to 13. There's only 30 votes. I understand being disappointed, but your argument is sketchy if you say that, well, this season will never be thought of again. No, it'll be compared all the time to any other great right-handed hitter ever. We did that throughout the season this year. The numbers that he put up, they weren't normal. And you've got to consider that he had to go on the IL with the flexor tendon injury. And then after going on the IL and coming back, he wasn't himself for a while. And then he played in the outfield toward the end of the season where he wasn't even throwing at the top of his game because, they wanted to get Stanton in as the DH. I think he did everything that a most valuable player would do. Let's go to Frank in New Rochelle. Frank.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Frank.
Thanks for the call. I agree with you. Judge, look, Seattle fans, I get that. But Judge deserved the MVP. And, to your point about Ohtani, and I've never been one to think that if you play half the game, you're not in the field. This year is different. He pitched. But last year, and even with Edgar Martinez, as much of a, great player he was, in between innings, there's no taxation on your body. They could be taking swings in the cage. You can be resting. There's no resting when you're out in the field. So that's just my 2 cents on Ohtani and Martinez. But back to Judge. He's a special, sometimes you don't appreciate, I always think Patrick Ewing was never appreciated in this town until he left. I think Judge has appreciated his demeanor and the way he goes about his business, as did Patrick. It's a shame that he didn't get the respect, I think, as Judge is getting now for whatever reason. But Aaron Judge everybody should just enjoy Judge for the next 5 or 7 years, however long he decides to play, because it's a special, special, special talent that we all know. And then more importantly to me, how he just goes about his business, and it's just a normal, like a gentle giant way, and is the captain of the team and, presents that captainship as well as any other captain in Yankee history.
I would agree with everything you said, Frank. And listen, you guys listen to the show. I don't root anymore. I try not to. But there are certain things that I wish for people. And one of the things that I wish for, well, just from doing the show, closing in on a quarter of a century, amazing, is the yeah but for years that we got with Judge. Yeah, but he doesn't perform in the postseason. Like that took anything away from the fact that he's just so brilliant during the regular season. And this year, he didn't just perform in the postseason. He dominated it. Now, I know there's still going to be a yeah, but he still hasn't won a championship. Yeah, but they did not win the championship last year because of Aaron Judge. I think he hit 600 against Toronto in that series. He did everything. They won one game because of that massive 3-run home run off the left field foul pole. That I was happy for him to eliminate one of the yeah buts because they were getting louder and more angry and more nasty year by year. And somebody broke this out on X, and you should take a look at it. The amount of home runs that Judge has had and the amount of postseason games that he's had, it's up there with Bernie Williams, who has 22. I think Judge has 17 home runs, and Bernie Williams played in so many more postseason games than Judge. We look at Judge and go, well, abject failure before this year in the postseason. No. He had some big hits. The home run against Clase. And he did hit home runs. And he had that big Game 5 in the World Series against the Dodgers. But he needed to have the A-Rod 2009. And he did, except that the Yankees didn't win the World Series. So we removed one of the yeah buts. Now the last one is he's got to win a championship. Because what we should do is we should sit back and really consider that we're seeing something that's not normal, that we might not again see in our lifetime. The career that this guy's putting together, a homegrown Yankee who carries himself in the right way, has never gotten into any trouble off the field, has never had anything negative said about him other than the yeah buts. We should enjoy it. And he did deserve to win the MVP, and he should have 4. He should be the first Yankee with 4. But now he's tied with others for 3. DiMaggio, Mantle, and Berra. Does he have another one in him? He's getting older. Talent like that doesn't stay around forever. In terms of at that height, we'll see if he has another one in 2026. But he did deserve that MVP, even though Cal Raleigh hit the 60 home runs. 1-800-919-3776. We'll finish it up with you, the co-host, as we roll till 3 right here on the Michael K. Show, ESPN New York.
Ox Spine at New York Presbyterian is always in pursuit of a better way to heal the spine. We're getting more people moving again with minimally invasive, non-surgical, and surgical treatments with innovative solutions for every back and spine condition and your unique needs. Expert spine care is available now across New York City and Westchester. Find a doctor at nyp.org/oxspine. Stay amazing. New York Presbyterian.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Empower. Tim collects bobbleheads. A lot of bobbleheads. Baseball bobbleheads, race car bobbleheads, little chihuahua bobbleheads. He's got an entire room strictly for bobbleheads. Does he need them? No. Is his wife mad about it? A little. But Tim works with Empower, and he got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Ooh, horse bobblehead. Classy, Tim. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at Empower.com.
From kickoff to cash out, ESPN Bet has the tools you need to score more on game days. Bet smarter with stats at your fingertips. Get personalized parlays built just for you. And with your fantasy team synced right in the app, you can back your squad. Right now, new customers get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $10. Sign up with promo code USL to get started. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
From the regular season to the Super Bowl, ESPN New York is your destination for football. We've got crazy fans.
If the Giants somehow beat the Cowboys, I'm going to take a dump on your head.
You can feel good because you're a damn football team. Expert analysis.
Marcus Spears joins us now. ESPN NFL analyst Damian Woody.
Mel Kiper Jr.
The Hall of Famer Steve Young.
He's kind of our resident general manager, Louis Riddick.
We got Mike Tannenbaum right now.
And all your fantasy and wagering needs. This is ESPN New York. We are football.
Welcome back to the show. We have the Knicks and the Heat tonight, second of a home and home, although they played on Friday, had the whole weekend off, and now they'll play tonight. No OG, hamstring injury, left hamstring. He suffered that in the game against the Heat in the first quarter. No Brunson, still dealing with the ankle. And I'm not saying this in a nasty way. I'm kind of tongue-in-cheeking it. But imagine Tom Thibodeau was a coach and Brunson got hurt in a game with under 2 minutes remaining where they're down by 16. It would have been because Thibodeau foolishly kept in his player the whole time. Mike Brown did the right thing, but you are what your reputation says you are. So those that follow the NBA, well, they read and they heard, Thibodeau plays every game to win. He doesn't rest his players. Funny, they weren't injured last year. But Brunson hurt his ankle in a game that the Knicks were definitely going to lose. And OG in the first quarter of a game that the Knicks ran away with. But nobody, rightfully so, has any problem whatsoever that Mike Brown had him in there. Right? Nobody. But if it was Thibodeau, it would be on him. Now, OG would have had a hamstring injury because he plays too much. Thibodeau wears him down. Brunson got the injury because he shouldn't have been in the game. Thibodeau kept him in, should have taken him out. We rightfully don't hear a peep about that from about Mike Brown. Rightfully. We shouldn't. But in this case, it happened. Two major players out for the Knicks. Landry Shamet had a great game in the first game against the Heat. We'll see if he steps up in this one. Jordan Clarkson will play a role as well. But just funny how things are viewed through different prisms because of different people running the show. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to John in West Hampton Beach. I love West Hampton Beach. What's up, John?
Hey, Michael. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'd like to ask you. I'm doing great. I love West Hampton Beach as well.
Do you go to John Scott's?
No, I don't.
Oh, it's good. It's right on Dune Road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been there. We live right on the water, though, so it's nice. Yeah. Michael, this may sound like a cynical question and a little difficult to articulate, but I hope you'll bear with me.
Okay.
If we assume that the goal of the off-season signings is to make the team better next year than it was this year, how is it a success if we merely re-sign the people that we have, for example, Cody Bellinger and Grisham, and even when we're trying to re-sign Soto? Re-signing the same people doesn't make the team better. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's an interesting question, John. First of all, they'll be better this year because you're going to have, an all-time great pitcher returning, and, that would be Garrett Cole. You have David Bednar as the closer the entire season. You have a third baseman that can actually field. The Yankees went into last year with a third baseman that was not a great defender. And, he wasn't awful, but Jazz Chisholm should not have been at third base. DJ LeMahieu started the season. So if the Yankees had started last year with the people that I just mentioned, again, they didn't have Cole. They didn't have McMahon, who's a great defender, not a great hitter. then maybe they would have won more games than they did, and they would have had the first-round bye rather than having to take on the Red Sox in that 3-game set. And then maybe Toronto gets knocked off by the Red Sox because they're in there as a wild card. So I don't think that just signing Bellinger is going to be all they do, but you can't say that having Garrett Cole for 28 starts doesn't make them immeasurably better. Bednar doesn't make them better, right? Because at the beginning of the year, Devin Williams really struggled. So Bednar emerged as the closer at the end and actually seemed like it was a good fit for the Yankees. I think the Yankees will do more. I do. Jazz is going to be at second base from the very beginning of the year rather than foolishly putting him at third. There's no LeMahieu to try to squeeze another year out of. Ben Rice is your everyday first baseman. I don't know if Grisham's going to be back. We'll find out either tonight or tomorrow whether or not he accepts the $22 million qualifying offer. If he does, I think the Yankees gambled and lost big time. Big time. I mean, they should be on their knees praying tonight or today that he turns down that offer. Because if he takes that offer, then you're asking him, okay, hit 34 home runs again. And by the way, we're paying you $17 million more than we did last year. And you're eliminating Jason Dominguez as any kind of player. And another way that they're better this year is that hopefully you get Stanton for maybe 120 games rather than the 80 some odd that he played. And he was an unbelievable contributor, a big offensive force for them. Big offensive force. So I like the way you're thinking, but the team is going to be different. The bench is better. You're going to have a different shortstop at the beginning as Volpe's coming back from the shoulder surgery. And you have a much better defensive third baseman. So I don't want to keep repeating myself, but there are ways that you could look at them as better. And if they had won the American League East, maybe the way it turns out is completely different than the way it did turn out. And I don't think it's just going to be Bellinger. They'll do other things. Maybe they go out and they surprise everybody and really unload. Maybe they sign Tucker too. Not sure if that's going to happen. Maybe they sign a right-handed swing guy that could play first and third to relieve McMahon and Rice against some left-handers. And hopefully that Jazz Chisholm doesn't get injured for a month, and then he puts together a 40-40 season rather than a 30-30 season. We'll be back again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We want you to be here with us. Coming up, Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. And in the words of Billy Joel, life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. I'm afraid it's time for goodbye again. See everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Talk to you tomorrow at 1. See you.
Tire care shouldn't come with extra costs or surprise fees, and it should be simple, straightforward, and stress-free. So at Midas, they're rolling out the limited lifetime tire guarantee, included with